In order to use categories in JUnit, we first need to declare a category. Let's go ahead and create a new category. The way we'll do this is we'll just create an interface that will represent a category, and we'll have a category of good tests. So we'll just call this good tests category. And all we're going to do is basically just use this when we declare the category annotation on any test classes or test methods that we want to have this category. So let's go ahead and go into our tests, and what we'll do is we'll pick out some of these tests. We'll say this test is valid for a good test, so we'll do a category, and then we'll specify what the category is, which will be good test category.class. What this has done is this has just assigned this test to that particular category. Go ahead and add this to all of the tests that are testing valid conditions, and we won't add it to these other tests that are testing invalid conditions. In fact, we'll add this on this JUnit test Java. We'll consider this whole class to be part of this category because we can apply categories to a class as well. Then let's go ahead and create a suite that will work against those categories. I'll create a new class, and we'll call this good tests suite. Then we're going to do this similar to what we did with our suite. We're just going to say run with, but this time we're going to use the categories class. So we'll say category dot or categories dot class. Then we'll do this include category, and here we're going to specify what categories we're going to include. Let's import this one, and then we want to include just this good tests category dot class. Then the last thing that we'll need to do before we can run this is the same thing we had with our protein tracker suite, which is this suite classes. We have to tell the suite still what classes belong to the suite, and then it will discriminate and decide which categories to use. Let's go to our good test suite. We'll paste this on here. So basically what's happening is we have this suite just like we declared before. It still has this hello JUnit test, and it has this tracking service test, but what it's doing is it's filtering based on what's included. We are including the good test category, so it's only going to run tests that belong to this category. So if we run our suite now, you can see that everything's passing, and that's because it's running the one test from the hello JUnit test. If there were more in here, it would run those because it's applied at the class level. And then out of the tracking service test, it's only running these three where we had set the category. Now we could also use an exclude category if we wanted to, and specify a category to exclude. Let's say bad category. We'll of course have to create this class. We'll just create this as an interface. And then we'll need to add this somewhere. Let's go ahead and take one of our tests and we'll change it to be a bad category. And we'll want to actually include this way because we're going to specify multiple categories. We'll make it be part of the good and the bad. Now, if we run our test suite again, you can see that it only ran 3 tests. It skipped this one. So even though it was included, it was excluded, so that excluding basically trumps that include and makes it so that that particular category test doesn't run. So you can basically use these categories to control what tests will run by determining which categories you want to run. You can put different tests in different categories. You can create hierarchies of these categories. It's a really useful feature. It takes a little bit to get used to and to think about how this works, but it's definitely something that I utilize, especially if I have long-running tests. I'll usually create a category for long-running tests, and I might exclude those in certain suites when I run them, just to make sure that they still run as the bigger part of the build, but they don't run every time that I'm running locally on my development machine.